Do you struggle with being humble? Feel free to let me know in the comments below what your biggest struggles are with humility. Because if you're anything like me, you probably have many stories to tell about how your pride popped in every now and then and blinded you to the true virtues and opportunities of life. How you've regretted being overly arrogant and ended up missing great opportunities and great friends because of it. How you were afraid to embrace humility because you mistook it for humiliation. How you thought that you knew it all, just to realize that you still had an entire world of things to learn. You see, humility is something that most of us struggle with a lot because our ego gets overly focused on ourselves and our own accomplishments. And so, it's a trait that is incredibly hard to develop, but utterly crucial for a meaningful life. And there is a certain Spongebob episode that shows us the real importance of humility. A Spongebob episode that shows us what happens when we give in to arrogance and pride.
It's time we went our separate ways. Such is life. Think fondly of me, Mr. Squarepants.
Goodbye, Mr. Best Friend!
In today's video, we'll be looking at the Spongebob episode called Patrick Smartpants. This episode starts off fairly similar to what we're already used to. We have our two doodleheads, SpongeBob and Patrick, going through their usual routine of jellyfishing. And just like always, they're having a great time together. Well, that is until Patrick fails to see the cliff ahead and falls all the way down the abyss. SpongeBob then makes his way down to his friend and reattaches his head so that they can continue the fun and exciting act of jellyfishing. But things don't turn out quite as planned. Because the head that SpongeBob reattached to Patrick wasn't his original one, but rather a brain coral. And so, our beloved and stupid Patrick Star becomes an unbearable genius. He loses all the fun he once had for jellyfishing. He finds SpongeBob's presence annoying and redundant. He has suddenly developed a certain love for music and symphony. And to top it all off, he's even found an overwhelming passion for math and science. And although all of these traits are impressive and astounding, they are too much for our simple Patrick to handle. All of this knowledge goes to his head and turns him completely arrogant. From that point on, the Patrick we once loved was completely gone. He lost all the humility he once possessed. In his eyes, there is no one smarter and more sophisticated than himself. And so, he is then taken over by pride and pushes all of his friends away from him. Once the humble star, and now the proud fool. Everyone he ever cared for has been driven away from him, and now suddenly he finds himself all alone. All of that knowledge and no one to share it with. No one he can call a friend, and no one who can make it all seem worthwhile.
Surrounded by knowledge, and no one to share it with. No one I can call friend. Who's that old chap I used to run with? SpongeBob.
We humans, we depend on each other, on the bonds that we build with others. And therefore, poisoning loving bonds with arrogance and pride is one of the worst things we can do. But sadly, most of us struggle with exactly that, because being humble is not an easy task to accomplish. After all, to be humble means to be able to realize the modest importance of one's own life. In other words, to be able to not take oneself all too seriously. It's a quality that is overlooked by most of us since, well, it's really hard to quantify its importance and to truly realize the consequences of never applying it. Many of you may even be reluctant to show any humility at all because you're afraid of humiliation. They may not be the same, but they're still very close to one another. Nevertheless, though, it's a risk that I think is worth taking, because in the end, you are not all-knowing. No matter how much you learn, you will always have new things to gain from others. And so, there is never a point in being arrogant and treating others as if they're worth less than you. At any moment, you could be confronted by the harsh truth that you were wrong and that you made yourself look like a fool. And although most of you may already know all of this, there are still times where you'll act on impulse and prop yourself up to be better than others by either insulting their apparent lack of knowledge or by exaggerating your own capabilities. But let me tell you, the only thing you accomplish through that is repelling everyone you care for and everyone you need. Because no one will want to spend time with someone who always thinks they're the best. We are all in a never-ending pursuit for knowledge and meaning. And so, to look up to someone or to look down on someone will only limit your true potential. It'll only make sure that you aim towards something unattainable or that you refuse to consider certain possibilities because you think you're somehow above them. And that certainly doesn't make you a genius at all. It actually only makes you a fool. Someone who read a few books and now believes to know it all. But in truth, you know nothing whatsoever. Because if you find yourself in that situation, you haven't learned the most basic principle of them all. The fact that a true genius admits that he or she knows nothing.
Sure you want to give up being smart and sophisticated to be my friend again?
Knowledge can never replace friendship. I prefer to be an idiot.
Not just an idiot, Patrick. You're also my pal.
Humility is something truly valuable. In fact, I would even say that it's the basis for all other virtues in life. Because without humility, you can't hope to learn anything at all. Your arrogance will inevitably lead to ignorance, and you'll never progress any further because of it. So make sure to embrace humility within your life. But how exactly can you do that, you may ask? Well, it's quite simple really. Go to the bathroom and look yourself in the mirror. Right into your eyes. And don't look away. Now stay there for at least a few minutes and simply take in what you see. Take in who you are as you are right now. Look at all the faults on your skin that make you imperfect and tell yourself that that's okay. Because no one is above criticism. Everyone has flaws and everyone makes mistakes. But it is only those who accept humility into their lives who can break past that and learn to grow from their failings. Because it truly doesn't matter what degree you got at some prestigious university. In the end, we are all going through the same school, the school of life. And here, everyone has something to teach and something to learn. Which is exactly why you should never look down on anyone, but also never look up to anyone. Both cases will only fill your mind with a distorted view of reality. So look at your life for what it is, nothing more and nothing less. And then, embrace humility within life and within yourself. Be humble and you won't have to lose the friends you once had. Be humble and remember where you came from. Remember that you still have so much to learn. Be humble and you'll then be able to learn even more and become even more of a true genius. One day, the hardships of life will make you stumble. So make sure to always stay humble. Thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to subscribe and check out one of my previous videos right here. This channel is all about looking at video games and pop culture from a different perspective. About digging deeper into the meaning of life and how we can get there with video games, movies, and TV shows. So if that interests you, maybe subscribe? Maybe hit the bell to be notified? What about that, huh? Yeah? Okay, good. See ya!
But if life is only pain, then what's the point of living?